It's the 25th of February 2020. It's about 2:35 in the afternoon UK time. This is my take on the horoscope of Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein was born on the 19th of March 1952 at 9:45 p.m. in the evening in Flushing, New York. This is a documented time, so it's pretty accurate. His chart is it's easily in the top 5% of the most difficult charts I've ever seen. There's a number of different factors here. Firstly, he has a really strong Grand Cross in his horoscope. He has the Moon and Chiron less than 1 degree apart at 11 and 12 degrees of Capricorn, squaring Saturn at 12 degrees of Libra, and squaring the asteroid Ceres, the asteroid of a mother, at 12 degrees of Aries, which is exactly opposite Saturn. And the whole thing makes a Grand Cross with Uranus at 9, nearly 10 degrees of Cancer. With the Moon and Chiron together, this is an aspect which often talks of emotional abandonment from an early age, and a kind of primal wounding at the emotional level, a lack of nurturing and a fear of rejection and emotional isolation from sort of under 7 years old. When you consider that Weinstein's Moon and Chiron was square to his Saturn, that points to a really strict upbringing with a lack of affection from male role model imagery. And when you also consider that the Moon and Chiron was square to Ceres, the asteroid that deals with nurturing, most commonly also the mother, which is exactly opposite Saturn, it suggests that the parents were in some type of constant conflict with each other, and that Weinstein was brought up in a completely emotionless household, with a lack of affection, no hugs and cuddles, a lack of emotion, and he had to grow up very quickly, and I don't think he had a good childhood at all. When you add insult to injury by having Uranus square Saturn and square his Ceres and opposite his Moon, this points to his life being very sporadic, erratic, unpredictable, disruptive, with a constant level of drama, and it points to basically quite a fractured personality with a lot of deep emotional trauma rooted in the first 7 years of life. Now that sounds pretty grim, but there's a lot more. Harvey Weinstein was also born with the conjunction of Mercury and Jupiter in mid-late Aries, 17 to 20 degrees of Aries, opposite Neptune at 20 degrees of Libra. Mercury conjunct Jupiter is the optimist, it's the hopeful, the humorous one. But when it's opposite Neptune, it does give illusions or delusions of grandeur. It gives one the impression that one is omnipotent, with Jupiter opposite Neptune. It gives the impression that one is untouchable, and one lives in a kind of fantasy world where they create their world as being the way they want it to be rather than dealing with it the way it is. Mercury opposite Neptune is common in the charts of poets, authors, artists, filmmakers, photographers, drug addicts, escapists, avoidists, alcoholics, people who have a difficulty in separating fantasy from reality. Often with these people, when I'm dealing with them as individuals, I say, look, fantasy stays between the ears, but the imagination can be created. This creates the potential for a number of, allergies, certainly, a number of medical issues, particularly around glandular situations, tendency for problems with certain foodstuffs, most notably processed wheat and milk products, dairy, lactose. But just when you think it can't get any worse. Harvey Weinstein was born with Mars close to the ascendant, Mars in Scorpio in the first house, very strongly square to Pluto on the midheaven. This chart is similar, not the same, but similar to that of Vladimir Putin. With Pluto on the midheaven in Leo and a Scorpio rising, it gives the ultimate capacity for power over. Not power in or power with, but power over. It is not about... with many people with this aspect, I go to lengths to explain to them the difference between being powerful as opposed to power-filled. When you're power-filled, power flows through you. You are the agent of change. You are the conduit for power, and you are the catalyst for other people's empowerment. When you are powerful, you are trying to control that power and keep it for yourself and have dominion or power over others. And with Mars square Pluto in a horoscope, there is a strong capacity for anger management issues. Certainly, when I see this in a child's chart, I always say to the parents, get them down the gym around 7 or 8 and get them into taekwondo, aikido or kickboxing in a way that helps them achieve mastery over their own desires and gives them a skill in terms of anger management so that they use their energy rather than their energy using them. Now, it's not all bad. There are 1 or 2 nice aspects in his chart. I have to be fair here. With Mercury and Jupiter trine Pluto and trine the midheaven, his ability to spin the world, to shine like the sun at midday, to be seen as a power broker is strong. But he does have an unaspected Venus, an unaspected Sun at 29 degrees of Capricorn, 29 degrees of Pisces, an unaspected node at 29 degrees of Aquarius. He has an unaspected sun. This is rare. Often when I deal with people with an unaspected sun, I often say to them, look, you're born on the wrong planet at the wrong time. You're alone. Not lonely, but alone. You can be alone in a room full of people. It's almost as if you're detached from the real world. You have no true connection with other people. It's obvious to me that this is a man who has constantly exerted his desire for control and power and dominion over others in ways that he feels were justified and that he felt was in working with his pre-held ideas of being powerful. It's almost like he felt that this was his world and he could do with it as he would. And with those oppositions to Neptune, his way of seeing the world was very different to the actual reality of the world around him. In terms of the long-term transits, it's interesting that as Pluto in the sky started squaring his Mercury and then his Jupiter 2 years ago, all of the accusations to him came to light. And that as Saturn in the sky conjuncted Pluto earlier this year, he came to trial. And I find it, from an astrological perspective, absolutely fascinating that the progressed moon in his horoscope passed exactly square to his Saturn and exactly opposite his personal moon sign 3 days ago. Progressed moon opposite moon. This happens to everybody once every 28 years old, and every 27 to 28 years. He has now been through 2.5 progressed moon cycles. And I find it so symbolic that the progressed moon was exactly opposite his moon the day before sentence was passed on him. If I were advising him, and I'm glad I'm not, if I were advising him, I'd be saying that the best thing you can do now is just take your medicine and shut up. Now, I've got to be careful what I say here because I don't want to wish ill on anyone, but there are striking similarities from my astrological perspective to his chart with that of Epstein. When I looked at Epstein's chart and did a video on it, I said he's not going to last long. He's not going to be around in a couple of weeks' time. And I know that Weinstein is appealing against his sentence. I know that in the court yesterday he said, how can this be in America? This isn't justice. I believe the guy's deluded. I think he thinks he's done nothing wrong. But with a chart like this, the way he sees people as possessions, well, I'm not going to say what's going through my mind. It's not right. I can't see him living long now. I don't think he'll ever see the light of day again. And it'd be lovely if he were to reform his character and to apologise to everyone and do his best to make everything right, but it's not going to happen. Here's a classic example of what happens when you try and have control over other people. And there are other people with charts very similar to him, and I've already named one of them, who are further on down the line going to have similar things happen to them. There you go, folks. That's my take on Harvey Weinstein.